Hi! Welcome to another installment of the Indie Showcase romance block of games. Today, we are playing Heaven or Hell, a game by Kiana Shaw, who a lot of you may know inside the tabletop role-playing game community. This is basically a love letter to Good Omens, for those of you that are familiar with that book and show. But I thought it'd be a lot of fun if Dan and I used this game to play basically the origin story of Dan and I's descent into Avernus characters. So speaking of Dan, Dan is my guest for this week. Thank you so much for agreeing to play this game with me, and also for creating these characters that are basically foils to each other. I mean, Dan, do you want to introduce yourself on your own channel?
Sure. Well, it's a group channel. It's not mine. So yes, I'm Dan at MadSciDM on Twitter. I'm generally here on Variant Roles, occasionally elsewhere on the interwebs, but basically here. I use he/him pronouns, and I'm gonna have fun fleshing out the backstory of this character. Should be fun.
Yeah, I'm Nox. You can also find me here pretty much exclusively on this channel. My pronouns are she, her. Twitter handle is under my name in the overlay. The main reason, actually, there's two main reasons why I run the Indie Showcase. First, to showcase indie games. Indie games are my favorite ones. I love, D&D and PBTA and all the other ones, whatever. I mean, technically, a lot of those games are just small press indie games, anyways. But I also like romance games. And this is me trying to scratch an itch for romance games, so whatever. But I'm not going to continue to play romance games the whole time. I want to shine a spotlight on indie games in general because I love them. There's so much creative stuff and really neat experiences that are being created in the indie space. Additionally, I want to continuously fundraise here on Variant Roles, so this is also my way of doing that. So for the romance block of games, we are fundraising for the Trevor Project, which you can donate through our... somebody already did it. Or is that the automatic one? Or... Oh, thank you, Arax. I did put the commands in the overlay now, so now they're not a secret. I don't have to constantly type them in. Yes, you can donate there. I've also set up some incentives for this game because it lends itself to that. This game is all extraordinarily narrative and freeform, and there's opportunities there for when you donate. If you donate at certain tiers, to basically help us build the backstory and the relationship of these two characters, where we're going, where we're at, the prompts that lead and feed into the scenes that we'll have together. Also, you can enter to win a copy of the game. The command for that... Did that work? Hold on. Oh, no, wait. It's win a copy. That's right, because I couldn't use giveaway. There we go. Hashtag ineffable. Because I love Good Omens, so I had to do that. So, hashtag ineffable to enter to win a copy of the game. I usually get it to you in about a week or so, maybe a little bit later, depending on the cadence of my paycheck. But yeah, if you're interested to play, you can enter the giveaway then that way. And if you're interested, check out any more of Kiana's work or follow them on Twitter. That information is also in chat. I think that's all that's my introduction spiel. I should script that out or something. Bullet point it. I think I'm ready to get into the game, Dan.
Yeah.
So Dan and I off stream already discussed like lines and veils, and the way we want to engage in this game. So we've already sort of done the work there. We've already kind of decided the story that we want to tell. together, which is in the play document, encourages you to kind of decide that in advance. I I don't know jack shit about my character other than the name. Dan's already played in a one shot as his. But backstory, I don't. We have like a seed of a backstory and no nothing about these characters. So this will be really interesting to completely do this on the seat of our pants. So I'm going to read the opening spiel from the play document. They say it's unnatural and not right, that feeling in your heart, but you know in the end, neither heaven nor hell shall keep you apart. You are two otherworldly immortal beings split across heaven and hell. There are three things that you both know. You love each other. The powers that be most definitely wouldn't approve of your relationship. There is only one place that is safe to meet, Earth. Or in this case, the Forgotten Realms, whatever. Because this takes place in D&D. Together, we will tell the story of our relationship over the eons, stolen away in hidden moments. So we've already done a safety tool discussion. We're going to create our otherworldly characters. So we'll choose what kind of being our character is. Even though, this is Love Letter to Good Omens, or inspired by it, the game encourages you to be any sort of otherworldly being. In this case, I am playing an angel, an actual angel named Cesariel. It's my freaking MO these days.
That's right, and I'm playing a literal devil, Azazel.
Yep. And I swear to God, if I see one Zazzle joke in Twitch chat, I'm gonna lose my shit. Saw that crap on the one shot. I was like, no.
Yeah, I think it was Zazzy.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
No. Time slot's too early or X for that.
That's right. We're not flagged for mature content. Well, actually, we might be. It's usually just on permanently.
I know. Days. Yeah. Well, I might end up moving this to a later time slot, and then we'll see what happens. But not for today. Okay. So cool. We chose our name. Cesariel uses she/her pronouns. I actually didn't really think very deeply about that. I might have if I would have taken more time with it. But yeah, I think I'll just keep it she/her. I assumed yours was he/him. I think because of your one shot.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Azazel goes by he/him.
Okay. Okay. I'm gonna write this. There are some things I'm probably gonna write down so I remember. Since these are gonna actually end up being real characters. So we will describe a notable trait that is consistent across all forms and time.
Yeah. What is Azazel's sort of trademark?
Yeah, I don't even know what my character looks like. I don't know.
Yeah. I think Azazel has and it might change a little bit like in presentation depending on the form. But he has something that is a beard or beard-like always.
Mm-hmm.
And it maybe changes its style over the eons and things like that. And if he's in like a less human type form, it might be, a tentacle beard or something. but he always has some sort of beard or beard-like thing.
Huh, interesting. I think that Cesariel always has always has I think Cesariel always wears this gold headband that has like a filigree design. Maybe sometimes it even has like little wings on the side, just like tiny ones.
Yeah.
But not always, but always wears this gold headband. Cool, cool. Um, so now we're going to set the foundation of their relationship. So we'll answer 3 questions. What did our characters notice about each other when they first met?
Hmm. Uh, eyes. Let's go with that.
I think Cesariel. I think Cesariel first noticed uh, uh, Azazel's cool confidence.
Okay. I got to write down that he has cool confidence.
Well, so that's the interesting thing about this part is that
Yeah.
you start creating like traits for each other, which I forgot about that, which is so funny because you already played this character once.
I think that fits though. I think he
Mm-hmm.
did have a sort of cool, collected,
Mm-hmm.
you know, sort of professional
Yeah.
demeanor.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. When did our characters realize they first loved each other? So when did Azazel first realize that he loved Cesario? Oh god, this is gonna hurt.
Yeah. Oh, I think especially like so sort of thinking of some of the D&D lore and things like that and the general themes that it wasn't right away um because love at first sight seems way too trite and cliched for like star-crossed lovers essentially. Um so I think after they had all well, maybe this will have to work out some backstory. But uh after they had an extended period of time that they had to work together on something or work with each other.
Yeah, that's cool. I like that. They had like they were on some sort of assignment together. Okay.
Yeah, like extended professional contact.
Okay. I think that Cesariel first realized she loved Azazel when um hmm, fudge monkeys. When uh she I think that she saw him during a moment where he didn't like one of those moments where you don't think anyone's watching.
Hmm. Hmm.
And I think maybe it was just like a moment of quiet contemplation or something. And maybe it was after some difficult assignment that they were on. Um, and I think it's just that sort of like moment where it hits you in the face. You're like, shit. This is the only time I've ever had to take notes for a game like this. Oh, gosh.
Yeah, well, because especially where the idea is it spans like eons, you sort of have to keep things in mind.
Okay. And our last question for the setup is what did our characters find endearing about each other?
Mhm. Uh, I think it's the strength of her conviction.
Okay, I have strong convictions. Let me write that down.
And not necessarily like strong convictions in the way that we think of them now, where someone is just really adamant, but like
Mm-hmm.
that quiet, self assured, like, this is the core of who I am and it doesn't bend kind of thing.
Resolute.
Yeah.
I think that what Cesariel finds endearing about Azazel is uh, uh, um, I'm trying to think of something like soft.
For like a lawful evil devil.
Yeah, yeah. Um, I think maybe Azazel really likes flowers.
Okay.
Really likes flowers, and and she finds that very endearing about him. That's it's one of those things.
People wouldn't expect of a devil.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Oh my god, I love that. Because I can just
I
spring
do.
some freaking flowers on you in the middle of D&D game.
Yeah, perfect.
Okay. Okay, now we'll actually start the game proper. Um, so together, we'll create scenes. Together, we'll create scenes where our characters meet. We'll decide a number of elements, and then I guess we can. I guess we can roll for that. I didn't grab dice, but I have dice just
Oh, the
like
prompt? I've got some dice here.
okay. I have some that are just like barely out of reach. I'll grab one. So we'll decide these four things first before we roll. I mean, we don't have to roll, but whatever for
Yeah.
shits and giggles. Um, so what time period is it?
That's
Which
a good question.
uh
Because especially if you're not playing on Earth, like I think,
mm-hmm.
sort of a baseline assumption would be you could just say like the 1920s or
Right.
ancient Egypt. Uh and this is like the D&D multiverse.
Yeah.
Um do we want to do something like early?
Yeah.
Like sort of deep in cosmology? Like around maybe around this would be on point for the whole Avernus thing, but
Mm-hmm.
either like around the fall of Zariel.
Yeah. I mean, how long Zariel been in Avernus, anyways?
I don't think it's clear because it's one of those things where it doesn't have a
Oh,
date
just my
because it like
donation.
predates Forgotten Realms type stuff probably.
Ooh. We did. Thank you. Thank you. Anything Iraq for the donation. And they created their entire whole scene for us. So we'll have to do that one after this. It's
Perfect.
it's a good one. I'm excited. Um, yeah. I honestly think I feel like we could even go earlier than that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. uh we can go
Because I mean, we're talking
to
about like millennia.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. um like millions of years.
Mm-hmm. Like we could get because you're right, like it's we don't I don't know what the technological history of the Forgotten Realms is, to be able to be like, let's go back to the feudal era.
Yeah,
So
yeah, and it's and it doesn't have to be the Forgotten Realms, right? Because it can be the whole material plane,
yep.
and I mean, we can sort of play with the whole D&D cosmology anyway.
Hmm.
Um,
What if time period wise we think about it relative to like uh 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 you know level of mortal organization, if that makes sense,
yeah. Um,
versus like
so
technology or culture so much, I guess.
yeah. Well, and because the FR has a weird thing where we're technically currently in a post-apocalyptic period. So you can go if you go back far, you get like higher technology and magic, but then you keep going back and you get to like a like you know the actual sort of lower level past.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Do you want to start there? Maybe like I'm thinking of
yeah,
humans are living in small, close knit nomadic groups, and maybe just discovering magic or just discovering prayer to the gods, and angels and devils are still like really closely involved in interfering and
yeah,
thwarting each other, if that makes sense.
yeah. Yeah, and elsewhere the elves are doing their thing,
Yeah, you're
but the
gonna
humans haven't figured shit out yet.
yeah, you'll have to lead me on some of that stuff because I don't know jack crap
Oh, I
about.
I I only have the loosest of
Okay.
of ideas.
So where are we then in that case?
All right. Uh, wherever it is that humans originated in the Forgotten Realms, which is probably not Faerun. It's probably or not. Yeah, not Faerun, not the Swords Coast. It's like
Mm-hmm.
somewhere else on Toril.
Sure. Yep. Okay, that
Yeah,
sounds great. Wherever that
yeah.
is.
It's probably like somewhere down around Kalimshan or something.
What does that
We
mean?
could ask POC Gamer on Twitter and he'd tell us.
What's cow? I don't know.
I think that's the like the vaguely like it's supposed to be themed sort of like the Middle East.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay, okay.
Yeah, because it
Is it
sort
like
of has the echo of Earth history. So imagine like the Fertile Crescent, right? And like,
gotcha? Okay,
yeah.
okay, okay. What mundane place have we found ourselves in?
Um, let's see. Like a hunting encampment.
Yeah, I dig that. Who else is around?
Probably a bunch of hunters.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. I feel like this is a hunting encampment. Who else is around in the scene? Maybe is like not the like lead hunt. Well, maybe yeah, maybe the lead like the best hunter, the person who's leading whatever
Hmm.
person in charge, and like they're the people that are closest to them.
Yep.
Almost like at a central sort of like fire, like winding down for the night or something after a difficult hunt, maybe something like that.
Yeah. Sure.
Okay. You want to roll the d10 since you have the dice handy?
Sure. I rolled 5 in order.
Okay. Uh, all right. So, hmm. So that could be an order one of us gives to each other or that we receive. Is the way that I think about that one.
Oh, okay, sure. Uh, we probably maybe we both got orders because we're both here to try and sway the lead hunter, sort of the classic devil and angel
On like on the shoulder.
temptation, and
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
What does that look like then for Azazel?
Azazel would, I think, look like just human, right? Would be wearing the guise of a human, a fellow hunter.
Mm.
So perhaps is actually magically disguised as one of the other members of the group, who isn't actually here, but I'm taking on their guise at the moment.
Mm.
Um, Perhaps a little bit of an older, not quite an elder, but like an older person. Um, Long beard. Uh, yeah.
Yeah, I think Cesariel has the same headband, but it always changes a little bit in style. So, this one looks a little bit more like twisting vines or something. Um, and she, I think, is just wearing clothes that would be fitting in an environment where you're moving around a lot, need to be comfortable. Um, um, but uh, I think that her I think maybe she received intel that that Azazel was going to be there,
Hmm.
um, and so she was sent down to interfere. Um, I think maybe that she knows. Um, I think that uh, shit. What's I know more about the planes than I do the rest of Faerun because rest of 5e settings because I'm Planescape fan.
Yeah, yeah. I think we can lean on that. I know, and I know more about that than Faerun too, because
Yeah,
I never really played in the
yeah.
Forgotten Realms until
So
recently.
so what is it? It's like Celestia or something like that. What's the name of the or Mount Celestia or something like that?
Mount Celestia
Yeah.
is one of the heavens.
Yeah, yeah. So I think the people from what can we call headquarters? Just call them headquarters.
Yeah, headquarters.
I think I think headquarters in Mount Celestia was like this hunter uh, is going to be a great leader one day in the region, and we need
Hmm.
to persuade him to the side of good and righteousness.
Hmm.
And then, you know, Cesario's like, "Cool, that sounds great. I'm 100% into it." And
Yep.
they're like, "Oh, but hold on, we got wind that the powers that be from below uh, are sending their infernal influences.
Yeah.
So we need you to interfere." So I think that in this scene, Cesariel probably seeks you out, seeks Azazel out, um, uh, and would try to corner him, um, to ask him, you know, what's he doing? He's not going to get away with this. She won't let him. The human is not going to succumb to the side of devilish forces. Um, that this is not the last she'll see of him.
Yeah. And so yeah, Azazel was sent by. Oh shit. What would a shitty startup company refer to their headquarters as instead of head office?
Oh my god. Well, they
Like,
wouldn't because they would have a flat what is it called?
oh, like a flat a flat structure.
Yeah. So
Flat organization.
yeah.
Yeah, the Hells on the other hand is very regimented. Uh, so yeah, innovation base. Yeah, that's. I
the
was like the idea factory. Um,
disruptor. I don't know.
yeah. I could rip off of the CIA or something and call it the Puzzle Palace.
Oh my
Uh,
oh
as
gosh.
HQ. So it's the brains at the Puzzle Palace, right?
Oh
Trying to
my god.
optimize the right ratio of cults of Asmodeus in the material plane. Uh, and so that's Azazel's been sent to do that, right? Azazel technically works. Actually, at this point in his history, I think yeah, Azazel works for Asmodeus. So he's been sent as a representative from the Tempter in Chief to tempt the the leader of this group, because for the same reason, right? Sort of the oracles have foreseen
Mm-hmm.
in the cosmic reading of the cosmic spheres that this will be a great and important leader in the region, and so we want his influence by spreading the word of Asmodeus, um, but also we want his soul.
Oh
We
shit.
want, because that's what we do, right? We set up contracts, and we'll hopefully get your soul in the end, and then he'll become a devil, and so we can recruit him into the ranks and have his genius for all time, because we play for keeps. And we can just offer so much more than you angelic types. I mean, what are you gonna do? You're gonna like peace and well wishes upon the earth, and we're like, do you want gold? Do you want love? Do you want riches? Fame? You can
Well,
have it all, and all you have to do is sign on this dotted line.
yeah, I think what Cesaria will do is she would stay in that camp as long as Azazel did. And
Yeah.
any time that she sees pen and paper or any sort of writing implement, she will leap and get out into the way and and say, I think she'd go so far as to create distractions like cause injury to someone else in the encampment. so that he's
Oh,
distracted. Like she wouldn't
yeah, yeah.
inflict. She wouldn't be like, "I'm going to stab you with a sword." It's just like, whew, and you have a leg wound now. Or like have some beast threaten the encampment, so that way they have to be carted away, to defend it. Um,
Yeah, and I like though that Azazel would, even though those are distractions, he would constantly try and turn them to his advantage, right? So like overt displays of power. So like, the beast is threatening the encampment and actually bestow minor blessings of some sort to like, you know, overcome the beast and slay it. Or he probably doesn't heal, although he technically could, as like displays of power, as
mm-hmm.
sort of the like, see, all of this could be yours, and
Oh
then it's
my
like the lay
gosh.
on hands.
How do we finish this particular scene of this little week or 2 week
Yeah,
long
yeah,
stint?
I like the idea that there's like extended hijinks. Like this is just
Yeah.
constantly going back and forth.
This is season
Uh,
1.
yeah, which is the good like respect building, right? It's like game
Mm-hmm.
respect game kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
And she's so pretty.
and he's so handsome.
Yeah,
Look at that
unfortunately.
chiseled jaw. Um,
Was that what did I say? Oh, it was the cool confidence, right?
yeah. Um,
Yeah, I think that's it's one of those infuriating things where um where it's like uh I imagine Cesariel saying something like, you're not going to get away with this, and I'm not going to leave. I'm going to stay here the entire time. I don't need to eat or sleep.
mhm.
And Azazel, saying something in response like, well, hey, neither do I. And then just like walking off and be like, ah! But then also being like,
Yeah, 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 exactly. Yeah, and it's like, well, like, she really sticks to it, right? Like
Mhm.
job dedication. You don't see that much these days. Uh uh
Yeah. Oh, actually, the sort of end of scene questions I think will guide us through what I was just asking. So
yes.
how do Cesariel and Azazel say goodbye to each other?
I like the sort of like grudging respect since this is like their first real meeting.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just like a grudging cuz whoever like won or lost probably doesn't even really matter in
Yeah.
the scheme of things.
Mm-hmm.
But I just like the idea that there's respect, but it's a little bit grudging.
Yeah. 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 I agree with that. Uh. Yeah. I don't have anything else to add there. Are our characters looking forward to seeing each other again? So is Azazel looking forward to seeing Cesariel again?
Secretly.
Yeah,
Like would never admit it, but does.
yeah. I think Cesariel is looking forward to seeing Azazel in the sort of way of when someone really challenges
Hmm.
you,
Hmm.
um, and that creates some excitement for her, and she is knows that she shouldn't feel that way, but she's like, that's the most fun I've had doing this sort of work in a long time, and yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
What promise does Azazel make to Cesariel?
Oh, uh yeah, Azazel would do the total would just do the see you around. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Cesariel, when they have their begrudging goodbye or whatever, she would say something to him um, like I will find you again.
Yeah,
Um,
perfect.
okay, so we do have a donation created prompt from Anything Iraq. So the scene rather is where one character has suffered an injury While both are in a hostile land, the injury bears a great deal of pain, and both are cut off from immediate help.
Okay. So thematic lore wise, it could be interesting if, or something that would potentially make a lot of sense would be if it's some aspect related to the Blood War,
Mm.
because that's the demons versus devils, and the angels don't interfere, and that's the whole fall of Zariel thing, because she
Mm-hmm.
thinks that they should
Yeah.
aid the devils against the demons because demons are worse.
Yeah.
So if for some reason, it doesn't have to be tied to the Zariel thing, right? For you, but I think if it's the Blood War, and so I was fighting, and then I'm cut off, and then why ever you're there.
Maybe, maybe it's something like, um, a battle broke out for whatever reason, by a flourishing, like newly flourishing dwarven community.
Okay. Yep.
And I imagine that Cesaria would be, and maybe with other angels as well, or other celestial creatures, would be sent down there to basically protect the dwarves. They're not supposed
Yeah.
to get involved. Um, whoops. Rumors spread that a rogue angel has gotten involved. But it's just sort of like all hush hush sort of thing. Um, yeah, and then I think Cesariel maybe would have sensed some sort of like evil presence,
Hmm.
and then uh uh followed that trail to find Azazel, and then maybe the fighting sort of basically like continues and
Hmm.
like cuts Cesariel off from the rest of her celestial troop or whatever.
Yep.
Um, and then obviously, well, let's see. Yeah, just one character. Um, so that answers our what time period is it where we are.
Hmm.
Uh, will we have found ourselves in a mundane place?
Uh, yeah. I mean, let's see, where would be a good place. So we're like, yeah, I like this idea. It's near a dwarven settlement. Perhaps it's actually just one of the outposts, so
Mm.
like a watchtower on the edge of the dwarven city, sort of thing. Oh yeah, actually, there we go. Anything
Mm.
RX through another. So trapped in a dwarven mine after a collapse.
Yeah.
So and that would be a good, like, the battle spilled out of Avernus or the Abyss or wherever it was into the mundane world via this mine.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that's why it's on sort of the material plane.
Yeah, and maybe
And
actually, maybe let's rework this.
yeah,
Maybe instead of being sent out there with other celestial creatures uh to protect this flourishing thing, maybe Cesariel sent out there to close whatever allowed.
the rift.
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
and
I
then
like that.
and then finds Azazel there, and then collapse. Oh no, now we're trapped
Yeah,
here.
so the mine has collapsed. Most of Azazel's, or all of Azazel's, like, legion that he was with are dead. But there's still a shit ton of demons in the mine.
Well, that's a bummer.
And I guess maybe dwarven miners?
Yeah. Maybe.
Miners with an E, not with an O.
um, yeah. Um, yeah. I dig that. Um, okay. I can let me grab the. I always forget what the D10 looks like to be able to pick it up, like with just a glance without looking at the numbers on the dice. I think this is the D10. Yeah. Okay. So I'll go ahead and roll for a prompt this time. Oh, Jesus. Okay. Well, that's fine. Oh, well, this works out pretty well. This is A Moment Alone.
Okay.
So I think maybe like to set the stage, yeah, there's demons around, and there's these dwarvish miners, but the miners are maybe trying to fend off the demons. Some are maybe running away scared. But there's some sort of alcove that Cesariel has dragged Azazel to
Hmm.
to separate them from the rest of the commotion. And I think Cesariel still looks the same. The headband now is more like a solid piece of gold.
Hmm.
And she's probably wearing something more akin to what the way people would think of like modern angels. So like white flowing, robes, but also with like gold armor because she
Yeah.
knew she was coming to a war zone. So she's like dressed for battle basically. And I think this time she has the little wings on her
Yeah. Yeah.
headband.
Okay. And I mean, Azazel has spilled out here from like actually fighting in the Blood War. So he is in a far more like devilish appearance. Still, I think humanoid, and it's not like he's like a big Baylor or something, but sort of, like the almost classic Lucifer
Mm.
depiction as a human. So like looks human, but he's got red and black skin and like horns, and has the little sort of like well trimmed, beard and goatee kind of thing.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Um, Probably a lot like he will look as a tiefling later.
Mm.
Um, but wings, the leather bat wing sort of thing, heavy black plate armor, and like a big great sword, and just has his wings like the cartoon gargoyles.
I'm familiar.
Yeah. Okay. So when you walk around with the wings draped over and like a cloak,
Yes.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So he's doing that kind of thing, and he's like splattered in demon ichor.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think Cesariel has dragged him to some sort of alcove, maybe magically just pushed like a boulder.
Hmm.
Most of the way closed, but there's still sound coming in, but this way at least they're obscured.
Hmm.
Um, and I think that she is like leaning over him and has this like gold sword,
Hmm.
uh, and is looking at him and is basically like, tell me why I shouldn't cut you down right here.
Oh yeah, yeah, and he would be pulling the like the resolute. uh it's not his fault. um that this spilled over. It wasn't the hells that opened this portal, but the demons. And I'm the only help you have to get this closed.
Yeah.
So you'd pull the sort of like the allies of convenience.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can't handle this yourself. The dwarves can't handle this, but the two of us could.
Oh, gosh. uh, I love seeing games come together in the way that they were intended to. Um, uh, yeah, I think Cesariel. There's this like moment where uh, she's just like staring at him, like searching his face. And you can see that the gears are sort of turning.
Hmm.
Um, and she, I think at one point, it's just like shit. And uh, and would hold a hand out to him to help him stand up as like a peace offering.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, and would probably heal some of his most grievous wounds.
Hmm.
Um, but still leave the ones that are a little bit disabling. Like anything that's like in a leg that would cause him to limp while it heals or something like that. as like a show of like, I can heal you and help you so you don't die, but you're not getting out of this that easily
Yep.
because I still don't fully trust you.
Yep.
um, uh, but she probably says something along the lines of like, um, uh, I'm trying to think of another word for arrangement. Um,
And she probably wants to stay away from like bargain.
yeah. uh, yeah, I think that she tells him, yeah, we can work together, but you can't tell anybody. Nobody can ever know. Uh, and whatever bad you do, I will do good in as equal measure. Um, yeah, I think that's what she says to him, and
Okay.
like fiery, like intense eyes, sort of situation.
And yeah, and I picture him sort of with just that, you know, uh, channeling his like the cool confidence, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is that he looks sort of very unfazed. Um and pulls the like as you've sort of pulled him up, just sort of like squeezes a little bit, like not roughly, right? On her hand. Um with like a handshake, like a very respectful sort of thing. Um, and oh yeah, with just like a little bit of a smirk, like just a quirk of his lips. His response is just, "It's a deal."
Oh God. Yeah, I think her eyes narrow at him.
Oh yeah, totally pissed. I can imagine. Yeah.
Then she stabs him. No, just kidding. Doesn't happen. Found out your shenanigans. Yank. um. Uh. Yeah, it burdens her soul. All right. Um, uh. Do you have any more you want to do there, or do you think that's a good place to end it?
Yeah, I just have the cinematic picture in my head though of like the camera is watching as they like advance out of the alcove together, like to go into battle, right?
That's cool. I like that.
Yeah.
So how?
Yeah, and
Oh,
it would fade out with like the sound of battle
yeah.
and whatever is that, like
So
kick a bunch of ass.
yeah. So is that how they say goodbye? Is basically cutting down a bunch of these demons that are in this cave or whatever, this mine, whatever.
Yeah, I guess when they finally seal it, the question is do they say anything or do they just go their separate ways as the like the goodbye?
Um, I think that Cesariel, after they've cleared this mine or whatever, and Cesariel has sealed it, with or without Azazel's help, that she would just like covered in like just gore, would just
Hmm.
sort of like stand and stare at him, and then just silently turn around and like walk off into the sunset sort of situation.
Okay, yeah. And then the camera pans back and he's just standing there, like sword planted, like hands kind of on the hilt, like just staring after her with a thoughtful expression on his face.
These two are my new favorite. Um, what is Azazel looking forward to seeing? Oh, sorry. Is Azazel looking forward to seeing Cesariel again?
Yes.
I think that fighting, doing battle with somebody, like side by side, uh, that has definitely piqued her interest in a way that makes her very uncomfortable. And
I'm not
unfortunately,
supposed to like killing this much, even demons.
let alone alongside a devil. Ah, what's happening? uh, yeah, yeah, I think that she does. Again, sort of like a shit kind of way. Um, What promise does Azazel make to Cesariel?
Oh, yeah. So just harkening back to the previous scene, and because she walks away without like saying anything, right? So the
Mm-hmm.
promise is he says, but she doesn't necessarily hear, is just see you around.
I think I think that hmm, uh, I think that I think that Cesario would take those few steps, intending to say nothing, wanting to leave the moment in silence, just easier. Um, and then Azazel says that in that infuriatingly calm like way that he does, and I think she stops, turns around, um, and gosh, what does she say? Uh, she stops and turns around and says to him that wherever he is, she will always be. And then, wings, and then she takes off,
And she's of course doing it as the whole like because I have to balance out your
Uh-huh.
evil and blah blah blah. But little does she know.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Okay. Uh, so, um, so I want to remind folks that we are fundraising for the Trevor Project. Please donate to a good cause. And if you need to be incentivized for that good cause, you can submit. It's in the Tiltify campaign. Let me put that into the chat. There it is. You can choose some element of our next scene, even the prompt, or you can completely write something yourself entirely, which is what we just did. Dan, do you want to do another prompt and then, or no, sorry, another scene, and then I think that will set us up for a break.
Yep, sounds good.
Okay. I feel like you've led quite a bit on some of these
Yeah.
last ones, so I'll try and take up the slack here. So, what time period? Whew, boy, this is always the hardest part because of the way that we're playing this. Um, I want. Okay. I think maybe like early Waterdeep.
Yeah.
I don't know what the hell early Waterdeep looks like, but I just like the idea of being in this. Uh, thank you again, Arax. We will do that one after this scene, which will be after our break. Um, uh, I just like the idea of being in Waterdeep, probably because it's the only place I have any degree of familiarity with. But also,
Yeah, same.
we haven't been in like an urban environment yet.
Yeah.
Um, where are we? Okay, so Waterdeep. Um, what mundane place have we found ourselves in? I think, honestly, just to keep it real simple, a tavern. And who else is around is the earliest settlers of Waterdeep. Maybe like the people that would eventually make up the people that live in like the castle ward or something.
Mm-hmm.
Like some of
Mm-hmm.
the earliest members of some of the oldest families.
Yep.
Um, whoever the hell that is. Um, but in my mind I see it like this being just sort of like a warm, lively tavern. You know, nothing
Yep.
special about it, nothing unusual about it. Just a good, clean tavern.
Yep. Yep.
Do you want to who rolled the d10 last? Was it me? Yeah, you want to roll d10 this time?
Sure. For a warning.
Whoo boy. So yeah, that could be a warning that one of us gives to each other, or that we get um, from our respective HQs, and then delivered to the other person. There's a couple different ways I think that could go.
Mm-hmm.
Um, any ideas come to mind?
Um. Maybe Azazel is passing along a warning to Cesariel, but not because of HQ. Like something that he's learned. I'm not sure what yet.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and he's passing along like to warn her, but he's like because he's basically doing it of his own volition.
Mm-hmm. Mm. Yeah. I think I think to sort of open the scene that Cesariel, just like she said, I will always be where you're at. Um, gets word or senses or whatever that he's in Waterdeep. She knows that this is a place that is just getting off the ground.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and um, uh, and does not want any sort of infernal influences whatsoever to
Mm-hmm.
corrupt this place. Um, and so she because that's how celestial beings work, manages to send him like a letter in Waterdeep addressed to Azazel,
Yep.
handwritten letter that says, "Meet me at uh, whatever the name of this tavern is."
Mm-hmm.
Uh, uh, yeah, and then she's then waiting there for him, like at like a table. It's not even like it's not even like a table in the shadows. It's just
A
in
table.
yeah in the middle. It's all very unassuming. Um, and I think that she again still has the gold headband, but this time it's all like filigree patterns.
Mm-hmm.
Um, no angel wings on the sides. But and she's dressed just like a fine lady would be in these early days of Water Davian development. Um, and she's got like a glass of wine on the table, and
Yeah.
maybe even like a bottle and an empty cup,
Okay.
waiting
Okay.
for him. Yeah.
I like the idea that because you know, I like mixing in social critique uh, in my answers of the devils. And Waterdeep is like a I think early Waterdeep's probably very like mercantile. I think it's like
Mm.
it was like a natural trade hub kind of thing, so lots of merchant activity. Azazel has been posing as a very successful merchant. So he comes in dressed like a very successful, wealthy merchant, because of course he's spreading the glories of capitalism.
Oh my god. That's fantastic.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, so I think when when he approaches, she gives him like this like sort of look up and down and just rolls her eyes. uh and would gesture at the chair opposite.
Yeah,
And tell him, take a seat. This doesn't have to be confrontational. Also, what in the heaven's name are you wearing? Wow. Can you be more
the,
ostentatious?
the latest fashions. Uh, yeah, yeah, and I imagine he sits and he does the thing like where he sits at the table like because I do this a little sideways,
Uh-huh.
right? Like leg crossed, like
Uh-huh.
just kind of leaning, hands folded, sort of on his lap, and is just very collected. Doesn't wait to be invited, just picks up the bottle and like pours
Uh-huh.
from the into the empty cup. Um, and and yeah, like questions your sartorial choices. He's very dapper.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that I think for the first time Cesariel is has that thing happen where your like breath hitches in your throat.
Hmm.
She's like, "Ugh, no, this isn't good. This is bad. No." And I think we'll like lean away, like into her chair, like arms folded, holding
Yeah.
the wine glass.
Why does Satan have to be so sexy?
Yep. Um, Yeah, and I think that she um will look at him sternly and say something like, um, uh, "I'm as long as you're here, I'm gonna be here. Um, uh, I'm not going to let you." Hello, cat.
That was great.
My cat's
Jumped
just
on that counter with authority.
yes. Well, so I have upper cabinets, and they don't go to the ceiling. So my cats have learned how to climb up there, and they hang up there now, or hang out up there
Nice.
now. So now I have to worry about them hopping up and down on streams because they'll climb up from the fridge.
Yeah.
So on stream you'll see them like crawl across up there and then up, and then they'll hop back down right there.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, it's something else. Yeah, yeah. VR is a cats channel. We love dogs
That's
too,
right.
but
That's right.
we do have quite a few cats. But yeah, I think that yeah, she will tell him, as long as you're here, I'm not leaving, and that she is going to be following him wherever he goes. All of his merchant dealings, she will be there. Um, uh, and um, uh, uh, any humans that he tries to make deals with, she will make sure to she'll make sure that she is also meeting with them. Um, and that this place is too fragile to be left alone to his devices, um, and infernal influences. And then she'll just stare at him as if to say, dare me, bitch.
Oh, he would totally be pulling the like, I'm just a humble
Oh
businessman.
my god.
um, yeah, that would be his line of bullshit. Um, uh, but I think he slips in lots of those, like when she does the like wherever you are, I'm just gonna be here, like essentially shadowing like on your ass 24/7. Um, and I think he gives the little sort of flirtatious sort of, oh well, so I'll be seeing lots of you then, like
Oh my god.
like that sort of thing. Like he's needling her a little bit, but it's also, I think it's also like, well, I'm gonna be seeing lots of you around.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and to bring the sort of warning like full circle, so like you're sort of warning him like, I'm not letting you do shit.
Mm-hmm.
Um, is that he proffers the sort of, well, I happen to have some information that I feel that you and your superiors would find most enlightening.
Yeah, I think she'll just sort of like raise her eyebrows.
The like Waterdeep might be fragile, but there's this other city up on the coast, a little further north, also just getting going, called Baldur's Gate. And I hear in future that's going to be a hot spot of murder and all sorts of wickedness that, believe it or not, has very little to do with the house.
And I think she's gonna give him one of those like, I can't think of the word, but one of those appraising looks, um, and look, there's she wears this sort of skeptical expression as well, and just nods slowly and says, basically says to him, tell me everything that you know, and will refill his glass for him.
Yeah, and so, cause and again, it's because I don't know the actual timelines, but
Yeah, I don't,
eventually
I don't
Baldur's
know
Gate's
shit.
like a hive of scum of villainy. Um, and so I think it's more of a like a long term, like we've read it in the stars kind of thing.
Hmm.
Um, and that it's a combo of both like just humans' innate capacity for wickedness, but also the interference of evil gods that are not of the hells.
Yeah, and I
Because
think
there's the Dark Three or whatever they're called.
yeah, and I think she would sit there and basically uh talk about D&D, cosmology, if you will, about the
Hmm.
gods I feel in my mind I imagine that becomes this like philosophical discussion
Yeah,
about like devils and the celestials and demons and the gods and the planes over wine.
yeah, and they're probably, yeah. I like the Planescape esque element, like you said earlier. So they probably refer to them like not as gods, but as the powers, and like
Mm-hmm.
because like they're not that big a deal. Like humans make a big deal, but like whatever.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah. Um.
and yeah, just this like you know because they all know like devil and angel, they know what's what,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So and then maybe the like it devolves into the like griping about the bullshit that you have to put
Yeah.
up with,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think yeah, Cesariel like as the wine is like, loosening things up, she starts complaining about like they're also worried about layers and levels and being on this mountain on high, and I don't get it because we have wings so we can fly around. What's the point even? Can get that kind of view anytime you want. I don't know why they make a big fuss, but humans are super into it, but they're just walking around in a daze in Elysium, and it seems very boring to me.
Oh, Azazel probably pulls the whole like, look, we wouldn't even need mortal souls to fuel our armies if people would just help us fight the tides of chaos. Like, don't people know we are the only thing that stands between all of this, and he's like the drunk, like,
Yeah.
he's gesturing in like 5 dimensional space.
Yeah.
uh all of this and the tides of chaos out of the abyss that want to consume it all.
Yeah, and I think Cesario is just nodding along like really emphatically, like yeah. I mean that's been a discussion in Celestia. That's a huge debate. I'm not saying I agree with you. Not gonna start giving up souls and helping devils, and like just goes on and on and on like that. Like always seeming extraordinarily reluctant to even remotely appear to be agreeing at all.
Hmm.
Um, but is like, but there's like that layer. There's like a veneer or a thin veil of like, oh, this is all a shit show, anyways.
Yeah, and he's got the sort of like, like, don't tell anyone I told you this,
Yeah.
but like most of us don't even like collecting souls. It's bullshit. Like, you know, we have to do it, like efficiency targets and like whatever else. But yeah,
Yeah, at this point they're just complaining about their job, and
yeah.
and Cesario's like, "Oh my gosh, don't even get me started on the quotas of how many miracles you have to conduct and how many humans you have to get to do good things on their own. But then there's a metric you have to hit for what good is, and it takes so much time and energy."
If we get demoted, it's just like a death spiral. You lose power. Like, yeah, your targets go up, your performance of reviews are atrocious.
Yeah, I imagine that this goes on for a
Yeah.
good while. Maybe like a second bottle is ordered.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Is there anything else you want to do in that scene?
No, no, I think that's a good spot.
So how do they say goodbye to each other? How does Azazel say goodbye to Cesario? Well, I'll go first because I keep asking you to go first.
Yeah, yeah, sure.
So Cesariel, gosh, I picked a mouthful of a name. Cesariel, I think this time hesitantly says goodbye to Azazel. Like maybe like the tavern closes. Like I imagine that they get kicked out. You know,
Hmm.
they could shut this place. They could drink these people out of house and home, if they wanted to. So I imagine that she like like stumbles out with him into the night. Um, and there's this like pause of where like at some point she like thinks she's gonna lose her balance and like puts her hand on his shoulder.
Hmm.
And besides the moment in the cave, has never ever made physical contact with, not the cave, the mine. Has never ever made physical contact with them whatsoever. And even then, it was like, we're in the middle of a war zone. Can't read into that too much. But like her hand like lingers there, and she
Hmm.
like makes eye contact with them, and then immediately steps back, and is like, "This has been great. I'll see you around," and like starts to like dash off, like, "Oh god, oh god, oh god, oh god."
Perfect, perfect. So what he does is, because he was probably like when her hand was on his shoulder, I think his hand was coming up to like maybe like sort of lightly touch at her elbow, but then like she pulls away too quickly, right? Um, so he just like lightly, again, not like forcefully, but like sort of grabs her by the forearm to like stop her as she's turning away. And whether she turns all the way back or not, he just does the "I'll see you around."
Fucking, I'll see you around. I swear to God.
I'd go to something different, but every time it's actually ends up being the like poignant callback.
Oh, come on, cat. Ugh.
So floofy.
Yeah, she real floofy.
She's one of those super floofy tales.
Yep. Um. Yeah, I think that's the moment when she like looks at him like for a long time, uh, and there's this sort of like expression on her face of 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 like not fear, but um like searching or something.
Hmm.
Um uh and then I think she just sort of nods stiffly and is like, "Yep, that's exactly what I said would happen." And then that's when she'll like dash away uh in terror. um is Cesaria looking forward to seeing Azazel again? Um yeah. Again, it's still always that like begrudging shit. But
Hmm.
now it's becoming one of those things where it's like harder to ignore, especially
Hmm.
after they like sat there and drunkenly complained about work together. Um, uh, and it humanized him, for lack of a better word.
Yep.
Um, uh, so yeah, I think it's still a yes, but it's still like I shouldn't. But I think there's also like a part of her that's like, I'm actually really glad that I'm here in this city, and that my job is to just shadow him or anticipate his moves so I can get in front of them. Um, because then she doesn't. Then she can trick herself into thinking I'm doing this for work
Yep.
versus like
Yep.
whatever. Um, is Azazel looking forward to seeing Cesariel again?
Oh yeah. Yeah. And I think for similar reasons. Um, I think the whole like drunken complaining about work sort of mentally puts her in a slightly different box. Like, I don't want to say colleague because like colleague sounds really platonic, but
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like it shifts her from that adversary to like, we have a whole bunch of things in common.
Mm-hmm.
Um and I think he has a little bit less fear, just because I think that the fear of your superiors dynamic in this like relationship is a little bit different for the two of them. And he's still in the mindset that, if he schemes enough, right, that it can all work out for him,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
That's probably like self delusion, right? But it's like it's just that's his rationalization.
Yeah, the thread that he holds on to.
Yeah, exactly.
Um, what promise does Cesariel make to Azazel? Uh, I think it's the promise of wherever you are is where I will be. That she's basically alluded to earlier.
Hmm.
What promise does Azazel make to Cesariel?
Um, oh yeah, so like probably because it probably happened sort of before the goodbye, but at some point, his promise when she kept saying the like, wherever you are, that's where I'm going to be all up in your shit. Um, and his promise was like a sort of uh, a bit smirking, but also the like hidden flirtation under the layer of, well, I'll have to be sure to make lots of work for you
Oh my god! Yeah, I think she would have just moved on from that.
then. I mean, I'm gonna have to keep you employed.
Oh my god almighty. All right. That's a great time for us to take a break.
Yes.
And then we will do anything Arax's scene that they came up with as part of their donation reward. And what that's going to be, which I think leads in, this is all a great lead in to that, is a scene where both have come to celebrate the success of a mortal who has completed their goals after decades of living. So I think we have set that up very well. So we're gonna take a quick 10-minute break or so, stretch our legs, do whatever humans do, because we're still those, and we'll see you here shortly. back. We have a cat. I checked in with Dan off stream, so we could talk about kind of where we're at feelings wise. This is a game that you just play until you're done playing it. So we're gonna keep going, and we'll keep checking in with each other. Blah. We'll keep checking in with each other after we complete these scenes. Before we do that, I'm gonna launch into my spiel, which is I run this block of programming for two very specific reasons. One, to spotlight indie designers and their creations. Two, for fundraising. For this particular block of fundraising, or programming rather, we are raising funds for the Trevor Project. Which, that's not it. There we go. You can see the description in the chat. It is a nonprofit that provides support for LGBTQ plus people under the age of 25. At the Tiltify link, you can also get involved with your donations by there's certain tiers where you can either choose determine the elements of a scene or even the prompts themselves, or you can just write your entirely your own scene, which we are getting ready to start our second donation submitted scene. And if this game is interesting to you and you want to play it yourself, you can enter to win a copy by entering the hashtag Ineffable. So far, I only have one entry, so that person's just gonna win it if nobody else enters, which is completely fine with me. There we go. Now there's some competition. Now it's basically a flip of a coin. So we just finished our Waterdeep Tavern drunken complaining about work scene, which I loved. That was a lot of fun. We're gonna go ahead and launch into the one that was submitted by Anything Arax, thanks to their donation, which is a scene where both have come to celebrate the success of a mortal who has completed their goals after decades of living. I think this is still in Waterdeep then.
Yeah.
I think that makes sense. Good. Yeah.
Like we've been operating in Waterdeep like sort of together for a long time. Maybe this is our extended professional contact. Mm-hmm. Like we've both been in Waterdeep for like decades.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I think so. Yeah, so Waterdeep's a little bit more established now. What mundane place have you found ourselves in? I think if we're kind of celebrate the success of Immortals, complete their goals. I think we're at a celebration, like an event, like a ball or something. You know what I mean? Something like that, like a party.
Yeah.
Maybe. What if?
Yeah, that sounds good.
What if to use what little Forgotten Realms lore I have? What if it's like the first Black Staff or something?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, so that would be Kelvin Blackstaff.
Sure. Yep. That's him. That's the guy. Yep. Exactly who I was thinking of.
He's a crazy old archmage, who eventually like becomes the first Blackstaff because that's literally his name.
Oh my God. Sorry.
Sorry.
No, it's not you. I don't know why the donation notification didn't come up. What the heck?
Oh.
Yeah, it didn't pop up just now. Kyle donated. Thank you, Kyle. His donation amount is $6.66. Thank you.
Perfect.
Oh, there it is.
I love it.
There's our donation notification.
There we
go. And he would like to see the inclusion of some metal music.
All right.
Well, we'll do that.
I'll bust out my lyrics. Yeah.
Could they? Okay. I'd like to see some inclusion of metal music. I mean, the game title matches a Black Sabbath song. could be there at a place where music is playing, or could be funny references or something else inspired by Black Sabbath. Do we want?
I got you, Kyle.
Oh, okay. You're gonna take the lead on this. Okay, great.
I get your back.
So this is like what, a celebration of Kelvin. It's Kelvin.
Yeah, I think it's Kelvin. I think.
Sure, it's Kelvin.
Um, I think it's Lord Kelvin Blackstaff. And so I guess I'm sure I don't know 100%. I'm guessing at some point he's named like Archmage of the city or something.
Yeah.
So if
Um.
it's his like investiture,
Oh, it's Kelvin. Kelvin. Kelvin.
Kelvin. Okay, Kelvin.
I'm like Kelvin, like the unit of measurement. All right. Um. Yeah, Kelvin. Kelvin Blackstaff, Arunson, Lord Mage of Waterdeep.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, so he's become the Lord Mage, um, and I think maybe if I may suggest that this is something where, oh my gosh, now the cats are fighting. Um, if this is, I think if I may suggest, I think this is something where the both of us have been basically working on this individual.
Mm-hmm.
You've been like doing whatever, and then Zariel's been doing holy bullshit or whatever. Um, and this is sort of the culmination of which you said he's a funny sort of dude, a little
Yeah, I think
eccentric.
he's like an adventurer, and yeah.
Um. Oh, often thought to be humorless and grave. Oh, it says
Mm-hmm.
he's actually neither. Uh. Uh. Yeah. So yeah. So. Maybe. So yeah. So I think I feel like we're at a celebration, celebrating him ascending to this Lord Mage role title, whatever,
Mm-hmm.
at some sort of party. What kind of what's the party? Do you think? Tell us how Black Sabbath is included here.
How Black Sabbath the party is for the Black Staff.
Oh God, I didn't think about that. Shit, you're right.
Yeah, because I, and I could be wrong. I always felt that he had a bit of a dark disposition, but probably both of us are a little frustrated because I feel like Blackstaff is one of those rare mortals that's outsmarted all of us. Like, so he's gotten what he's wanted, but come out ahead every time and hasn't really tipped one way or the other. Um, so, let's see. Um,
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that's probably what happened.
yeah, and so it's somewhere. Maybe the celebration is in his tower, so the Blackstaff's
Oh
tower.
yeah.
And so that's kind of metal as hell because it's like this goddamn like arch wizard's tower. I mean, what's more metal than that?
That's fantastic.
Yeah, there's like candles everywhere and
Can it be a masquerade celebration?
absolutely.
Hell yeah.
Absolutely.
And then we're gonna just do that again tonight.
That's right.
Oops.
That's
Oh
right.
well.
Yeah. Yeah, and Azazel totally has a goat's mask on.
Oh my God. Yeah, sure he does.
With 4 horns.
Jeez Louise. Um. Okay. So who else is around? Well, all the party attendees in their own costumes, obviously.
Yeah, the who's who of Waterdeep.
Yeah. Do you who you rolled the D10 last time, so I'll roll it this time. I think, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Okay, we already did that one. Did we? Yeah, we already did that one too. Okay. Aha! Oh, this is good. A confession is
Okay.
is our prompt for this one. Yeah, that can be obviously anything. Yeah, I think. What do you have? Do you have like any immediate ideas for starting sort of situation?
No, I don't.
In my head, I have this image of this dimly lit tower, all these like standing candelabras, casting like warm light and stuff. It's like the flickery candlelight,
Mm-hmm.
and like stone walls and like hanging tapestries and rugs, and like sort of like the low like hum of chatter.
Hmm.
And people, water Davians that were invited to this shindig, all kind of milling about. Some have masks on that are attached to sticks, and some, just fully attached to their head. Some are in like full on regalia. Um, uh, and you know, I think that there are floating trays of like champagne and stuff like that, just sort of like coasting around, probably the work of unseen servants, um, and other like snacks and hors d'oeuvres and that sort of thing. Um, and there's always this sort of like light music in the background, um, that just kind of carries through the different floors of the tower. Um, and again, whenever you actually see the band itself, there's no one there. It's more unseen servants playing music because you don't have to pay unseen servants. Um, uh, and and I think that Kelvin himself is just sort of like milling about and intimidating some and cracking jokes with others. And I think that Cesariel has been invited, obviously, because she would have been his confidant and tried to guide him in morally difficult or ambiguous situations. Try to guide him towards the light, and maybe didn't always succeed, uh, um, uh, or found herself outsmarted by him. Um, because he would withhold some piece of information when he was seeking her counsel, and she'd be like, shit, that's definitely not what I would have told you if you would have told me the full story. um so I think she is there and sort of grumpy about it.
Hmm.
She doesn't really feel like she accomplished what she set out to do. And I think that the same headband, um but this time the mask is attached to it, and it's gold angel wings creates the shape.
Hmm.
And she's just in like these like diaphanous, white dress with gold accents and all that sort of stuff. And she's just sort of like standing there, arms crossed, leaning against a wall in a dark corner, drinking champagne. She's probably on glass 3 at this point because she's bored out of her gourd, and it's just like, I just want to do my time so I can go home. Sort of situation. Not happy to be there. Annoyed as all hell. What do you think Azazel's doing?
Yeah, so Azazel probably with the Black Staff has a similar like quasi frustrated relationship, where they've struck bargains many a time, but never have I been able to get like the Black Staff totally corrupted or to break a deal. Um, and he's never like straight up bargained his soul away. Um,
Darn.
and probably Azazel, like for someone as powerful as the Black Staff, couldn't offer him anything worthy of like a straight up like I'll take your soul when you die anyway. So that's his professional frustration. Um, but at the party, he is still doing his like the devil in a 3-piece suit routine as like the prosperous merchant, um, and making the rounds that way. When of course he would see her there, and probably eventually come over also after consuming copious amounts of champagne. And there would be some comment, um, like complimentary, but sort of the like, because she looks very extra, right? Like she
Mm-hmm.
doesn't blend.
Yeah, yeah.
Like all of these decades, and you've never taken to just blending in.
Yeah, I think Cesar will just roll like the biggest eye roll you could. It's visible from a distance of 5,000 miles. That's how big the eye roll is. Uh, and I don't think she like adjusts her posture or position. She couldn't look more bored. Uh, and I think, you know, she'd give him the up and down, and then stare pointedly at his mask and the four freaking horns rolling off the top of it, and just sort of like over, you know, looking down but up, be like, "You've got to, you're kidding me, right? Do you own a mirror? And if not, I can certainly help you find reflective surfaces because you have four horns coming up top of your mask. I hope you're not aiming for subtlety."
Yeah, and I think he would do the like studiously like adjusting the cuffs of his outfit, and just say, "But the rest, look, the finest tailors in Waterdeep would be proud of the rest of this outfit. Sometimes blending in isn't about subtlety."
Yeah, I think that she just sort of like shakes her head, like she can feel the annoyance rising, but it's also, there's also sort of that, like when you you know, playfully tease somebody, there's also
Hmm.
that sort of like, that sort of feeling bubbling up as well. um uh and uh um I'm trying to think of how I can fit this in. um I think that I think that someone like walks by them, just some random person, random party goer, not paying any attention, just walks by, and they have decided to come dressed up as like nature or Mother Earth or Gaia or something like that. And so
Hmm.
they're covered in like just numerous amounts of flowers. And she looks over and then just, you know, in the quickest motion, just snatches off like the biggest, most uh, 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 obvious flower she can find, and then in the same like motion, just plucks it right into one of the like behind one of the horns, so it sits there on top of the mask. And she's like, and then she looks again at him appraisingly, and is like, "Humans love flowers, Azazel. Maybe that would help you fit in a little bit more."
um, yeah, and I think this is where he would have the like, "How did she know?" Right? Because probably he was like watching the living flower arrangement walk by,
Uh huh.
um, and was quite taken with it, I guess you could say.
Mm-hmm.
And he makes some comment about like whatever flower it is, right? Like, um, you must have quite like something like you must have quite the eye because you know plucked the rose from among the thorns, sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like some reference about how like you know this person's outfit was terrible. Like I love flowers, and something about how it's like a mess because of you know they did it garishly and it's you know a poor mosaic, yet you managed to pluck the you know creme de la creme. You pulled the beauty forth from this morass of, oh yeah, it's some, it's like he kind of slanders humanity a little bit, right? How you like elevated this thing out of the muck of humanity kind of thing.
uh, uh, I think she would just sort of watch him wide eyed as he goes on this like diatribe, uh, uh, and not wide eyed in like shock, because there's also like this little grin as well of like, "Oh, I just found out something about you. You just revealed something about yourself," sort of thing. Um, and I think she would. Uh, uh, I think she would call him out on it and say, uh, "I didn't think that devils had such a fondness for the natural creations of the earth. If I'd known that, I would have brought you flowers for every meeting.
um, and I think he does the like he like plucks the flower from the horn, right? And like trims the stem off a little bit and puts it at his lapel, um, and says something to the effect of, "Just because I'm a devil doesn't mean I don't have an eye for beautiful things." Uh, and does the this is a better choice for it. If I had one, it would be closer to my heart.
Oh my god.
A little cheesy, but
Yeah, I think she just drinks the rest of the champagne. Like, I can't handle this right now. This is too much. So, what do we think the confession is then?
oh, I think he was going for a little bit of a confession there about his feelings.
Okay. Got it. I mean, I got that before, but I wasn't sure if like that was our confession. Um, yeah, I think she just like looks away, drinks all of the champagne, puts it by on the nearest floating tray, picks up two more, and is like hands him. If he's got one already, she's gonna hand it to him anyways.
He's like double fisted.
Yeah. And she, I think she'll just sort of look sort of like over his shoulder, intentionally avoiding eye contact, and still like arms folded, still holding the champagne glass in front of her. Um, will say something like, um, uh, you know, this. What the hell's his name? Kelvin has been the most infuriating mortal I have had the displeasure of trying to steer towards the light. I don't really want to be here to celebrate that. So maybe if you wanted to provide me with your company, that would make things a little more tolerable. And I think she just like chokes that out. It's so difficult.
And yeah, and I think he sort of like hurriedly like finishes the first champagne and puts it down and like starts drinking the second one. Uh, and says something like, "Yes, this black staff has been more incorruptible than most, or less corruptible. I don't know. There's some nuance there, right? Because like Kelvin's not necessarily good,
Mm-hmm.
but couldn't be tempted towards outright evil either." um, but look around and he sort of like gestures at like all of this like humanity that's here, kind of in his honor. Even Asmodeus would be proud of his puppet mastery. Um, I would be happy or would rather spend my time with you than with sort of disdainful them. Like the sheep. I'm a wolf, but yeah, there's like some metaphor in there
Yeah.
about being the wolf among the sheep, and like you're not a wolf, but at least you're not a sheep.
Yeah, I think that she would just sort of like sigh and say something in response that's like, can you not say his name because you're gonna ruin the whole evening? Let's just not talk about work. um, is there anything else you want to do in that scene, or we want to wrap that one up?
I think that's good.
How do they say goodbye?
Um, let's see. I imagine this being like they sort of just while away the rest of the party talking about probably somewhat inconsequential things,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like it's sort of one of those like it built up and there's like the blip there, so then like you have to retreat back to safety a
Yeah,
little bit.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but it's not like drunken talk about work.
Mm-hmm.
Like they probably talk about real things,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe similarly some of that, metaphysical cosmology or the latest news from Sigil and blah blah blah. Um, and I think it's one of those like lingering goodbyes from Azazel's point. Like he goes to say goodbye a few times,
Mm-hmm.
but like can't quite bring himself to,
Mm-hmm.
and like sort of looks for a few more excuses to like talk about something else for a little bit for like
Mm-hmm.
another 10 minutes and then
Yeah, I think so too. And I think that whenever it seems like his goodbye is like gonna stick this time, Cesariel finds something else to talk about.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
and I think even like maybe even like when I think that they leave together at some point,
Hmm.
and even when they like walk out of the tower together, and it's like okay, we're gonna say goodbye, and then leave different directions. I think Cesariel, would be like, oh, I'm actually a little bit peckish. Do you want to check out this new place that they've opened? They've got really good blah blah blah. Uh,
Hmm.
I always get, I always crave food when I drink, and I couldn't possibly go to bed on an empty stomach.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
she'd try to get him to follow her to whatever the newest, hottest, water deep culinary delight is.
Yeah, so it's just this like long protracted, like the goodbye is over like hours
Yeah,
basically.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And I think that when they actually say goodbye, though, like at this point, the sun is starting to rise,
Hmm. Hmm.
and Cesariel is exhausted and maybe like finally like sobering up a little bit. Um, and I think that uh, I think that there's that when you say goodbye to somebody that you're attracted to, and there's that like
Hmm.
pause and that like magnetic pull between you, and you're not
Hmm.
sure if you're gonna act on that or not. I think that happens, like that feeling happens for her. And she folds her arms in front of her, crosses her arms in front of her, uh, um, and uh, I think that I'm gonna jump ahead a couple questions. So at this point, Cesariel 100% looking forward to seeing him again.
Hmm.
Um, and it's the guilt about it hasn't gone away, but
Hmm.
the ability to acknowledge it for what it is has increased. Like
Hmm.
at this point she can't really deny anymore that this is like a genuine anticipation. Again, still feels guilty, but it's less of like, oh, this is a small thing I can just kind of shove down. It's just now it's like, staring her in the face. And I think that as she's standing there, she like looks off to the side, can't make eye contact with him anymore, at least not in this moment, and asks him, "When do I see you again next?" But tries to play it off as if to say like, "When you're gonna get up to your shenanigans," type of thing.
Right, right, right. Um I think he instead of having like a smart Alec reply, uh sort of like reaches out as if he's gonna touch her, but it's that like will he won't he kind
Yeah,
of
yeah.
thing, right? Like reaching out, super unsure. And I think he just says something like when whenever you call.
Yeah, and I think, uh, what would she say in response to that? Hmm. I think she would like still not make eye contact with him, but like look at him from kind of like like you're looking away and you look over at somebody from the corner of your eye.
Hmm.
And she would say to him that he knows how to reach her.
Yeah, so they're both like just back and forth putting it on the other person.
uh, yeah, I think at whatever point where it seems like at whatever point it seems like there's really nothing left for them to say, like
Hmm.
it's reaching like a peak of tension
Hmm.
that either you have to respond to or you have to let go of.
Hmm.
Um, she's just gonna, tell him goodnight, and I'll see you wherever you show up next, and then she will, you know, take a couple steps backwards and then turn to leave.
She makes the power move.
Yep.
uh yeah. Let's see. Oh, thank you very much, Valdrianth,
Yeah,
for the
thank you for the
raid.
raid. Yay.
Thank you very much.
Uh for our raiders, we're running a an indie game for charity and to spotlight indie game creators. You can join in on the action um, with your donations. I'm currently playing here. With Dan, we are playing our descent into Avernus characters and how they met. Um, yeah, if you want to get involved in the action, you can donate. You can create your own prompts or settings or whatever for where our characters will interact. You can also enter to win a free copy of this game if you're interested. The commands are on the overlay. Thanks again so much for rating us and showing us your support. Um, is Azazel looking forward to seeing Cesario again?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Uh, does he make a promise, or do you think that that already happened in the scene we just described?
Yeah, I think we sort of made those. Yeah.
Okay. Um. Alrighty. I think we can. What? Okay. So I think we could do one more scene. I'm looking
Hmm.
at the time,
Yep.
and then do the ending.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Uh. Yes. I don't think we have any more donation-based prompts. No, we're all cut up there. Alrighty. So. Yeah. What time period do we want this to be? Or yeah, as best we can in D&D land.
Yeah, yeah. Um, maybe this is closer to the present day.
Mm-hmm.
Um, probably still like a little bit of time, but closer.
Yeah. And where?
Um, well, is everything centered around Waterdeep? I kind of like that the last couple have been this like protracted like Waterdeep kind of thing.
Yeah, we can still be in Waterdeep, or we could even go to
Um,
Baldur's Gate.
yeah, I was gonna say, or the other one would be Baldur's Gate.
Mm-hmm. We can go to Baldur's Gate too. I don't know
Yeah,
jack shit about Baldur's Gate, but that would set us up for the ending probably.
yeah. I don't know a lot, but I know that there's. I'm pretty sure like Azazel being active with like some cults and shit is probably very
Mm-hmm.
likely.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, let's do Baldur's Gate.
What mundane place have we found ourselves in?
The Elf Song Tavern.
I don't know what that is.
It's the most famous tavern in Baldur's Gate.
Probably
Uh,
should have read the Descent into Avernus
I
Baldur's Gate
I
stuff, but
forget who
whatever.
I forget who owns it, but it's haunted by the ghost
Ooh.
of an elven maid, and she frequently sings.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah, yeah. Elf Song Tavern. Uh, and it says the only lighting is provided by many blue drift globes.
yeah,
That's fun. Okay.
it's a very fun little place.
Um, who else is around?
So it's frequently, I think it's nearish the docks. I'm not 100% sure, Um, but Baldur's Gate is like a hive of scum and villainy. So it's often like pirates, murderers, cutthroats, and regular people.
Okay. So as opposed to our Water Davian uh, tavern, which was just very nice and filled with more upscale people, or I should say upper class or whatever people. This is like the tavern, but for opposite set of folks.
Yeah, although I think it's a weird dichotomy because it's like it is nice surroundings, and probably a lot of the people here are regular people, but getting knifed in Waterdeep is not an unlikely occurrence.
You mean Baldur's
Or
Gate?
sorry, in Baldur's
Yeah.
Gate.
Okay, cool. Um, all right. Yeah,
Roll the prompt.
go for it.
Uh, already done that. 9. A surprise.
Okay. Um, yeah, what do you think the surprise is? Or does any images or whatever come to mind?
Hmm. I don't have anything that immediately comes to mind. So if you have something, maybe a very surprising song from the ghost. Like normally the ghost kind of just sings
Mm-hmm.
like elven pop basically. But every once in a while it does something strange. Uh, so maybe it's surprising because it sings a song that seems to hit real close to home.
Yeah, yeah, that could be.
Like, or maybe it sings a song about like Zariel. That would sort of be on theme.
What if okay, so what if that uh what if Cesariel also is part of the surprise? Like
Oh, that she's there.
yeah, like maybe Azazel's already there.
Yeah, Azazel's been in Baldur's Gate for a while,
Mm-hmm.
setting up a cult, and
Yeah, maybe it's like maybe it's been like a while, and Cesariel's been like MIA,
yeah, uh, I
and
guess
then
probably since the Black Staff, it's probably been like a few hundred years or something at
mm-hmm,
this point. So
mm-hmm, yeah, and then this ghost starts singing songs about fallen angels and lost love and all that sort of stuff.
and then Cesariel shows up
Uh huh.
to crash my meeting of the cult. Got a bunch of cult members around. We're just having a drink after our cult meeting.
Yeah,
They're leaving. They're on their way out, and I'm still there.
yeah, yeah. So I think Cesariel comes into this tavern, and just plops right down into. I think what she does actually on the way in is kind of getting a sense for what has just happened. She will take maybe like a cultist aside and try to quickly have like a come to Jesus type moment of like, hey, I'm very interested in your cult. You seem to be interested in cults. I have a really cool one to tell you about. If we can meet after, what's your number? How can I get a hold of you? Okay, great. We have an appointment made. Fantastic. We'll chat later. And she is like, yes. The full intention to like slowly just dismantle his cult person by person. uh, and I think that she will. I think that she will just saunter over confidently, and just plop herself down unceremoniously at the same table or in the booth or wherever he is. And I think just as this ghost is like starting to sing about like fallen angels and all this sort of shit, I think she'll lean forward and cross her hands, steeple her hands in front of her, um, and just sort of look at him right in the eyes and say, "Long time no see."
And I think Azazel for this like turn of events in Baldur's Gate has not been doing the like devil in a suit but he's got the appearance of like the rabid cult leader sort of thing. He's like the Charles Manson. Like he's got the like a long beard and like longish hair, and he's in like robes, um, and uh, and he's and I think he's like truly taken aback. Like this is a surprise. I mean, what's a few hundred years between immortal creatures? Um, but is actually shocked, and I think given like his current state versus most of like their existence, where he's played more of the suave type, um, he does the sort of hurried like, you know, gathering his beard together, and just does the like, a shock indeed. I must confess, you've not caught me at my best. Although business is good.
Yeah, I think she has. I think her headband is now solid metal, flat, and probably wider than it looks, almost as if it was like protective headgear.
Hmm.
And she's got one angel wing, and otherwise she's dressed like an adventurer. Her hair is braided back. Um, she wears armor appropriately, and a sword at her, at her hip, and gauntlets and boots and all that sort of thing. Um, and I think at seeing him try to straighten himself out, she just this slow grin like creeps across her face, and she just watches him. And I think she'll say in response to that, um, I, "Isn't this sort of work always your best?"
And I think he has like sort of the admiring look, and has the, well, I haven't seen you this martial since the mines. I must say, it's a good look on you.
Yeah, and she'll just like raise an eyebrow, and lean back in her chair, arms crossed, crosses one leg over, knee over knee, uh, and uh, uh, and say to him, "I don't think it's in good taste for devils to admire celestials in that way. Or maybe this is just another form of your infernal temptation at work."
Well, I did always say that just because I'm a devil doesn't mean that I don't have an eye for beautiful things.
And I think she's gonna like look away at that because it's way more direct than anything else he's ever said to her. She'll just like swallow, uh, and then kind of like clear her throat because she's in a tavern, but she's sober as a stone. So, um, this is the sort of alcoholic, induced ability to cope with that is not there. uh, and she'll, without looking at him, I think even like maybe like her cheeks even start to turn a little bit red at that. She'll say, "Well, I caught wind of your cult, and I promise you I will dismantle it person by person until it is nothing but tatters on the ground of a well walked path."
So you're saying we'll be seeing a lot of each other again.
And I think there's like this long pause. Her internal monologue is like, "Shit, shit, 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 shit." But externally, she's trying to keep cool. Um, and she's like, "Well, that is what I promised you the last time we spent time together."
I think like subtly, because of course he's, inherently magical. Uh his, his like appearance has been like subtly shifting like through the conversation to like be like slightly more well put together. Uh So like the beard shortens up a little bit, the hair shortens up a little bit. The it's still like robes, but they're fitted. They're made of a nicer material,
I
like
love
that
it.
sort of
That
thing.
is hilarious. Holy
Yeah.
crap.
Like just reverting to a bit more of a suave, almost like a high priest like sort of appearance, as opposed to like a dirty cult leader. Um and and he says, well, the soul business has been good in Baldur's Gate, but like I told you long ago, humans here managed to get up to their own wickedness all on their own. And that's probably like timed when there's like you hear a scuffle outside, like somebody getting knifed.
Oh god.
Like nobody moves to do anything. Like the patrons kind of like pause briefly, look around, and then like go back to their business. But I have to say, interesting the musical choice that came on as you made your surprise appearance.
uh yeah. I think there's this look of like worry on her face when all of that scuffle breaks out, and for a moment she looks distracted because in her mind she's like, I should probably interfere with this, or intervene. But I can't stop all fights, and it's not my role to, you know, have such a heavy hand in the matters of mortals. Um, and then when you mention something about the lyrical content of the music, she just sort of like snaps back to attention, um, and and looks like she's focusing for a moment as if on the actual song. Um, and I think it's like I think it's like a song about it's it's a song about like basically star-crossed lovers sort of situation. Uh, um, Maybe even something like about some sort of local myth or legend about some great warrior and some powerful sorcerer, and they were at odds, fighting different causes, maybe even for opposing organizations. But they realized, through clandestine meetings, that they had more in common with each other than they had not, and um, kind of all that sort of thing.
Hmm. Yeah.
And and uh, and I think her face sort of like goes pale, and she swallows again, and then looks back, um, uh, and says, "Yeah, yeah, that's very interesting, isn't it? Um, I'm gonna be here for a while. I think something big is going down."
Yeah. I was sent for similar reasons.
And I think in this moment, uh, she sort of looks like left to right as if, like looking over her shoulder sort of situation. And uncrosses her legs, leans forward in her chair, places her hands on the table, and kind of leans in a little bit, and then looks up at him from like underneath her her brow, um, and says, "I don't know what is going to happen, but you better make sure that come the end of it, that I still have the opportunity to continue to thwart your ill intentions going forward."
And I think he sort of smiles a little bit and like leans in as well, and sort of like reaches out across the table a little bit, and does the thing where like he doesn't quite like grab your hands, but he like puts one hand so it's kind of curved just around it, rested on the table. It's like a hair's breadth away, like you can sort of feel it, but it's not quite contact. And sort of just like looks at her deeply while smiling a bit and says, "Oh, sweetest angel, I could hardly do otherwise." I was about to notice. I was sitting here looking. And I was like, "Is it just me, or is like Nox getting luminescent?"
It's because the sun is setting. Well, it's not setting. It's on this side of my apartment, and like the clouds are by, so occasionally it's just like,
yeah. Yeah, it's funny because for me, the sun is actually starting to set.
Yeah. It sets on us all at some point.
The sun never sets on the British Empire.
Oh gosh. I think. Oh gosh. I'm trying to think of how she would respond to that. I think. I think she would just that sort of like dead stare you give someone when you're made speechless, which is what has happened in this moment. And I think she like doesn't look at his hand because she's afraid if she acknowledges it with her eyes, that's gonna give something away, you know. And so, but it's like she can't think of anything else. Like it is such a distraction for it to be there, for that like desire for like physical contact, you know. After inching closer to whatever this is for them after a shit ton of ridiculous amount of time, and I think at some point she would look away, like look down at the tabletop, not at at her own hands, not at his. And then I think with a lot of effort sits back, and I think she just sits there and looks at him. She's like too afraid to move, like not like she's not like pinned to her chair, but like she doesn't want to get up to leave because she doesn't want this interaction to end, but she has no like idea what to do at this point. She's like I imagine in her mind she's like, do I order us a bottle? Do we just like drink our way through this? Hey, thanks for the raid. Welcome party.
Hi. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you for coming to our gosh, this game. Thank you for the raid. Welcome to the Indie Showcase where I run indie games. And this block of programming is all games that are around romance, love, and intimacy. Today I'm playing with Dan a game called Heaven or Hell by Kiana Shaw, who you may know from the community. Tabletop role-playing game community. And it's about, otherworldly beings. Split across heaven and hell that love each other and whose relationship probably wouldn't be approved of. If for anyone familiar with Good Omens, it's basically inspired by Good Omens. Good Omens role-playing game. So Dan and I are actually playing our Descent into Avernus games, where I am a celestial creature with angel wings, and Dan is playing a devil. And we've been playing through that. Also, I run this content so that we can always be fundraising, and this particular block we're fundraising for the Trevor Project. If you want to enter to win a copy of this game, you can enter the command win a copy. Other commands are also in the overlay. And thanks again, Welcome Party, for the raid. Really appreciate it. Appreciate all the support for the community. I love you guys. Great. Um, gosh, my foot is like bouncing around like a jackhammer. Um, so yeah, I think with just like this long pause, uh, she will say to him, um, "Why don't you tell me about this cult over a drink?"
and and I think he pauses a minute and just like smiles and says, "I would like nothing better."
And
Uh, oh, and I was gonna say, and he does the, I think, like he's gonna like lean back a bit, but he does where like just like a fingertip sort of brushes against the back of your hand, like as he sits back, uh, and sort of without breaking eye contact, does the like to signal to a server to like bring a bottle. Um, Probably uses a little bit of infernal magic of some kind to get you know exactly the appropriate wine.
mm-hmm.
Uh, and it is, even though it is like separated by like hundreds of years, it is the exact same vintage as the wine that they drank in Waterdeep.
Oh my god. Yeah, I don't think the gesture is lost on her whatsoever. Neither is the slight bit of contact. And I think at this point she is just flushed in the face and is struggling to grasp at words. Um, and um, I think that she will, in sharing drinks, wine with him, will basically tell him kind of what she's also heard about a potential angel fallen, um, and what that might mean, um, and kind of rumors going on in and around Baldur's Gate and the larger implications those have. Um, and I think that, like, peppered throughout this conversation, she will make comments along the lines of, like, um, you know, make sure that make sure I still have a job at the end of this, and I'm sure you've got more souls you need to try and get, and um, I have my own quotas I need to fill. What?
No, no, keep going. Keep going. Keep
Okay.
going.
And um uh yeah, basically like making sort of work based excuses for, you know, why he needs to keep himself alive so that she still has
Hmm.
work to do, but that's 100% like not where that's coming from.
Yeah, yeah. Um, so yeah, so at this point, like Zariel rules Avernus at this point. Um, uh, and I think this is where a scheme perhaps begins to be hatched because um well uh because Azazel works for Bel, who was the ruler of Avernus but was
Mm.
shifted down in rank in favor of Zariel, the fallen angel. And I could really advance my career by getting Bel back on top. And you, perhaps, what greater accomplishment than to restore a fallen angel to goodness and purity?
Yeah, I think Cesario will express hesitant interest, um, and will want to she would basically like at that point start the scheming process of like, well,
Hmm.
what exactly would that look like, and well, here's what I know about Zariel, and here's how this is what people that knew her had to say about her. I never met her personally, but this, that, and the other.
Hmm.
um, and I think ultimately arriving to, an agreement of like, uh, of I will descend into Avernus with you.
Yeah, yeah, I would ride into hell with you. Um, uh, yeah, and I think he sort of like starts scheming like about how they need to establish their relative positions in Baldur's Gate and their respective hierarchies, and like, here, look, here's the details of my cult. If you dismantle the cult, right, that's going to get you favor, and it's going to look bad for me, but in this case, like, I need to get sort of demoted a little bit in my responsibilities, um, and this will be dangerous, but I need to be boots on the ground, as it were.
Yeah, I think that she is amenable to all of that. Um, uh, do we want to move on to the closing stuff? Closing
Sure.
questions?
Yeah.
Um, how do they say goodbye?
I think this is like perhaps the most cheerful, because he's like excited.
Yeah, because I mean, what, like, basically they've agreed to travel together,
Hmm.
into or work super closely together if they're going to
Hmm.
spend more time in Baldur's Gate, but at some point maybe actually travel together into Avernus,
Yeah.
right? Uh, yeah, yeah, that makes sense.
And so it's sort of a like, I'm looking forward to like a very productive partnership in this endeavor.
Yeah, I think I think she'll hold out a hand for a handshake.
Hmm. Yeah. And I think he'll shake the hand, but like it's lingering, like he doesn't want to let go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's I think it's the same for her, and it's like right back outside of the freaking, you know, water deep new food hotness, where
Hmm.
she's like, okay, I don't want to say goodbye again, but you have to. And there's again that sort of like magnetic draw where it's like either you have to cut the tension and disperse, or you have to heed, the call. Um, and and I think she she I think she, without hesitance, just like makes eye contact with him for a long time, like is like not trying to look away,
Hmm.
not trying to pull away very quickly, but I mean at some point she will let go,
Hmm.
um and just like take a couple steps back to put distance between them. um uh and we'll say to him, I think we'll make excellent traveling companions.
Yeah. uh yeah, and I like that sort of, there's always the like hesitancy and then sort of the like separation. um and I think his promise is that he would do anything.
Yeah, so Cesariel obviously looking forward to seeing him at this point, and feeling less and less guilty about it by the day, especially now that they've come up with some sort of reason that, they have decided makes sense for them to travel together.
Hmm.
Um, uh, and I think the promise that she makes to him is, is um oh gosh, what's the promise? So it's gonna be so bittersweet. Um, I think the promise to him is, I think she takes her headband off and hands it to him and says, "Give this back to me next time I see you." This is my guarantee that I'll be there.
And yeah, so I think he would take it and sort of like put it on his head. Like I'm sure it sort of like resizes or
Yeah,
something and
whatever. It's
like
magic. Sure.
fits.
Yeah.
Uh and and he says, "Well, I guess I can't die then."
And I think she grins and says, "No, I guess not. See you later." And then, and then we'll, yeah, again, walk off on their separate ways. Yeah, add to your inventory. Gold headband
Gold
with
headband
one angel wing on the side.
with one angel wing.
Uh-huh. All right, let's move on to the ending. Uh,
Okay.
uh, we have been together for eons, finding small moments we were able to steal away from the watchful eyes of the powers that be. But something has changed. Perhaps someone spotted you, or something gave it away. Perhaps duty calls, or it's the end of days. There are three things that we both know. We love each other. The powers that be most definitely wouldn't approve of our relationship. And there's only one place that is safe to meet, which in this case is the material plane. Um, I think what I would like us to do with this, it's not stated explicitly in the play document, but I want to at least elaborate a little bit on what separates us at this point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Um, I definitely have some ideas. Where are you kind of at there?
Um.
Because we've already sort of talked about like
Yeah. Yeah.
that a
Yeah.
little bit too.
Yeah. So knowing sort of what will kick off Avernus is like basically the opportunity for their scheme like strikes, right? To take
Mm-hmm.
advantage of.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but they need to be separated either before that or partially during or something. Yeah. What thoughts did you have?
Well, so I think maybe they're like, I think I think that they don't get a chance to actually meet back up after that
Mm-hmm.
to kick off
Yeah.
the scheme. Because I think that they do get caught.
Yeah. Okay. I like that.
I think that the powers that be, either they've been, either someone's been spying on them from their respective, headquarters,
Mm-hmm.
or whatever. Um, but they've been caught, and the powers that be aren't happy with what they think is too close of a relationship for Devil and Angel to
Mm-hmm.
have, and I think that's when they strike down with their punishment.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and it's probably I guess too because like to seal this, right? Like he had sort of said he needs to get demoted,
Mm-hmm.
but it's like worse than what he thought, right? Because he
Mm-hmm.
was expecting like, well, like I lose this cult and they're gonna be mad, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then it's like because there's a spy, he
Mm-hmm.
lost the cult because you fucking told an angel how to dismantle your you told him you gave her the membership list
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
told them the little buried secrets and niggling doubts each of these people
Mm-hmm.
had so that
Mm-hmm.
you could take it apart.
Mm-hmm.
And so he gets recalled to Avernus by Bell to like basically just be uh in the legions.
Mm-hmm.
But beyond that he gets stripped of his immortality and forced into mortal form. So he ends up back on the mortal plane, but as like a tiefling, like a mortal
Mm-hmm.
humanoid, but marked by his hellish. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that Cesariel, feeling like she's done a lot of good in dismantling this cult, is like heading to meet up with Azazel, and just out of freaking nowhere, like devas and solars and all that sort of stuff just descend upon her, and drag her back to, you know, all of those celestial planes, whatever the heck they are. I don't remember them. And basically is held, put on trial, for cavorting with and conspiring with a devil to put Belle into seat of power in Avernus. And she is also launched back. she is also launched back. Uh, she is also launched back to the material plane, um, into the body of a an Asimar, um, or an Asimar, whatever, um, uh, and uh, threatened with threatened to. Oh, I just made this up because I've just decided what her paladin subclass is going to be because I haven't decided yet. Um, she is tasked with the at least as far as her mortal body will take her, with perhaps the promise of return to her previous form, of bringing people to redemption. Since
Mm.
she failed to, well, she didn't fail to do that, but in as a way of repayment for, you know, her treasonous ways, as they've deemed them. Um,
Hmm.
so I think she returns to Baldur's Gate, um, without a gold headband. Um, and she thinks if there's anyone that she could possibly redeem, they're going to be in Avernus probably, and so she will descend into Avernus. Doesn't think she'll ever see Azazel again, but certainly hopes, and maybe that's the small spark of what sends her into Avernus in the first place.
Hmm. And with Azazel in his position, I imagine like basically his soul is still owned by the Hells. So if he dies as a mortal, unlike any time before, sure, he'll go back to the Hells, but he'll be like whatever it is, the grub or larva, like the absolute lowest of the low, a lemur
Mm-hmm.
in the Hells, um, from which he could almost certainly never climb the ranks again. Uh, and because I just last night watched John Wick 3, uh, and there's like the whole like promise is he sort of like doubles down because he comes back as a paladin oath of conquest, for the Hells, but it's like I have served and I will be of service, and it's sort of like a rededication to like the only way is I have to serve my hellish masters so that I can become a proper devil again and not be condemned as a pitiful soul in the hells.
Yeah, I think maybe Cesariel knows that too. Just like common sort of like, you know, this is how devils operate. Um, and I think that's probably like another motivation for her to go down there
Hmm.
as well. Of
Yeah.
like, I can't let him die down there because, you know, for heaven's sake, what he'll turn into is just barely a shade of his former self.
Hmm.
Um, and she never even got a chance to kiss him.
That's right.
And he's got a
There
damn headband, so
and he's got the headband.
yep.
There was hand holding, but no smooches.
No, no smooches today. On that note, I think we've wrapped up at just the perfect time.
Yeah,
Dan, what did you think of this game?
that was really good.
Yeah.
I really like it. It's super simple for anyone whoever wins or buys it to check it out. It's like, it's basically a one pager, really.
Mm-hmm.
Two pages with some instructions, but um, I think and it totally didn't necessarily go the way I thought it would either, which is good because we had sort of schemed that we wanted them to be very tragic.
Yeah, the tragedy didn't
Eh,
quite uh, uh, come in there as much as I had originally thought about it.
yeah, but it felt really organic, the
Mm-hmm.
turns that it took.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, no,
It's
I'm quite pleased.
yeah, it still felt very like slow burn, uh,
Yeah,
like tormentingly so slow burn. Which for all of the Good Omens fans out there, that's why us people like it. Uh, what do you think about using this game to create, backstory and relationships for D&D characters?
yeah, I loved it. I think if you're gonna have two, you know, like some sort of similar relationship, and it wouldn't have to necessarily be romance. You could use the structure to play out
Mm-hmm.
any sort of relationship.
Mm-hmm.
I think to take two people, two characters, and tie them together that way, it's a super good way because all the stories are like whatever narrative scope you want. So yeah, I'm a big fan of using systems like this or like other types of games to like build narrative or backstory around characters. It was really fun.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. I would love to do stuff like this more often with characters. Um, yeah, I think you can. Yeah, Kyle, I absolutely think you can use this for any sort of relationship. This one in the play document references frequently that you're in love, but there's no reason you couldn't do because none of the prompts are scenes. Like there's never like a kiss or a held hand or anything like that.
Yeah,
You could use this for any kind of relationship at all. Parent child, siblings, very good friends, you know, people that start as strangers but become friends, or whatever.
arch
Um,
nemesis.
mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. Um, uh, um, yeah. Do you have a favorite moment?
Um, so many. It was all really good. I think I think the Baldur's Gate, like just the imagery I have, like when it sort of rewound, of like her coming in like adventuring gear, and I can just imagine the like super confident like walk into the tavern like cinematically while he's
Mm-hmm.
looking like it's like the inversion of their normal like sort of, well, not really an inversion because she never looks down on her luck, but like he's out of his normal
Mm-hmm.
comfort zone in terms of his relationship with her.
Mm-hmm.
He's sort of immediately on his back foot and she comes in full of confidence, and like collected confidence is like his character trait,
Mm-hmm.
so that he feels the tables are turned on a little bit, and so I think that was good. It was nice to get that like sort of get pushed back a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Um, yeah, I think for me a favorite moment was any time that Azazel had some little quippy thing to say. Um, because it was just yeah, it's just funny to to hear that. But also I just imagine that classic sort of hellish versus heavenly dynamic is that the hellish person is always going to have the sort of sarcastic upper hand, whereas the heavenly
Hmm.
person is just sort of always on the defense with that, always caught off guard or something, and that's just a really fun dynamic to play with.
Yeah, the like the long-winded moralizing versus the little like pithy.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I'm gonna go ahead and draw for a giveaway before we completely wrap this up. There's only two
perfect.
entries, so it's basically a coin toss. Dan, you get a copy of the game.
Woo!
um, uh, do we want to plug some stuff? We don't have a game after this, right?
Absolutely. There is no game after
Yeah,
this. No.
but there is Invisible Sun
There
later.
is. Yes. So there's a game after this. If you come back at in what, 3 hours?
Mm-hmm.
At nine
Oof.
nine Eastern, we'll be playing some Invisible Sun, and both of our lovely faces will be on the screen again.
Yeah, it's basically Invisible Sun dating sim. So it's also our branded After Dark content. Well, it's not branded, but it might as well be. So if you want to pour yourself a drink and get spicy and chat with us, that's the game to do it, because the game is wild, as are we. We are the best kind of messes. I rewatched the episode earlier this week because I couldn't remember what happened. And I don't mean like I could remember what happened, but I was like I need to rewatch this to refamiliarize myself with some details. Thankfully, I actually remembered most of it, but oh my god, I was in tears. It was so freaking funny.
It was.
Yeah, holy crap. Anyways, we have a whole bunch of other content. Follow us on Twitter at Variant Roles to see all of the stuff. We have games pretty much every day.
Yes, we do. For I think it started this week, and until I think around the end of November, our schedule has something every day of the week.
Yes. Which is awesome. We've got so much good shit coming up as well. I'll be doing this every Saturday, except for next Saturday. I will be taking a break, which I'll probably do that, play 4 games, take a break, play 4 games, take a break, and so on, so I don't burn myself out. But I also may be rethinking the time slot for this and running it later, so I can capture more viewers, so I can capture more of your dollars for fundraising, which is the whole reason why I'm doing this. But also, I can play with more people since they'll be available a little bit later in the day. Is there anything else we want to mention before we bid everyone farewell?
Yes. Most of my schedule, so like our Saturday evening content, like we'll have tonight, will be like a mix of stuff. It'll probably always be Invisible Sun the next couple of weeks. Season 2 of As the Suns Burn will premiere early November. But my biggest thing is Thursdays. Come tune in. Thursdays, 8 p.m. Eastern. This Thursday is the premiere of my new show for the fall season, Project VHS. So if you like sci-fi and horror in space, come for a fantastic cast. I literally have 6 of the most amazing people. And it's going to be a wild ride full of occultism and esoterica and the void, and all set in the lonely, lonely black reaches of space.
Yes. And we'll have Descent into Avernus content, actually. A couple campaigns and ongoing one-shots. And our characters will continue to make appearances in those games as drop-in characters. So if you liked what you saw here and you want to see more pining and sad people, and see what they actually look like in D&D builds and space, tune in for those. Again, follow the Twitter account for those details. I think that's it, though. Everyone have a great rest of your Saturday. Hopefully we'll see you again tonight for VR After Dark. And see you here again in a couple more Saturdays.
And we should raid some.
Oh yes, I have to make a post-it because I always forget to do that. You tell me who we're raiding.
Let's go do Unmade Gaming because they've got a charity stream going on.
Are you typing it?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, we're gonna go raid Unmade Gaming. He's also a swell fella. Does a lot of charity stuff on the reg.
That's right. Yeah, I think they've been running a marathon all day. So
yeah.
And I believe there's some VR folks in this.
Yes.
So yep, we're all set.
Okay.
All right.
Bye everybody.
Bye everybody. Sending the raid.
Yay.
Cool.